If 50 people tell you the sky is green, your brain stops asking, why are they wrong? What if I'm wrong? That's exactly what would happen if everyone else lost their mind. You wake up, your boss cries over paper clips, and the barista serves you water, while insisting it's espresso. Now answer one question. Who's actually insane? One morning feeling completely normal. Brush your teeth, make your coffee, walk outside, and then slowly, over the course of one very long Tuesday, you start to notice that everyone around you is acting completely insane. Not like bad day insane, not like Monday morning insane, full, clinical, textbook insane. Your boss is compulsively reorganizing paper clips and crying about it. Your neighbor is convinced her mailbox is sending her coded government messages. The guy at the coffee shop just handed you a cup of water and is absolutely certain he made you an espresso. And you're standing there like, is this a prank? Did I get selected for something? Are there cameras? And then the terrifying thought lands. What if there are no cameras? What if every single human being on this planet developed a mental disorder overnight? Except you. For real bro here, where we say what no one else will. Now before you picture yourself as the hero of this story, the sane savior walking calmly through a world of chaos, I need you to pump the brakes. Because the question isn't just what happens to them. The real question, the one nobody wants to answer is, what happens to you? And more uncomfortably, would you even notice the difference? Part 1. The day the world started making zero sense, and you were the last to know. Picture this. It's a regular Wednesday. You're scrolling through your phone, half awake, and something feels slightly off. Not dramatically off. Just that low-level wrongness you get when your sock is slightly twisted inside your shoe. You can't pinpoint it, but something is wrong. Your coworker sends you a message that says, the blue ones are watching again. Be careful of Thursdays. You stare at it for a full minute. You assume it's a joke. You send back a laughing emoji. She responds with 3 pages of evidence that Thursday is a government construct designed to suppress human creativity. You close the app. Ugh. At lunch, your best friend meets you and starts explaining very sincerely, very calmly, that he's been chosen by a cosmic force to alphabetize every restaurant menu in the city, and it has to be done by Friday or something terrible will happen. He's not joking. He has a spreadsheet. He has color-coded taps. He has called in sick for 3 days to do this. And he's asking you, with complete emotional seriousness, to help him. And here's the wild part. You almost say yes. Because when someone you trust is that convinced, there's a moment, just a flash where your brain goes, wait, is the menu thing actually important? That moment right there is the first crack. See, we like to think we'd immediately recognize mass disorder. We imagine ourselves walking through the madness with clear eyes, unaffected, rational, the one functioning adult in a sea of chaos. But here's what the research on conformity actually shows, and this is the uncomfortable part. Human beings are not built for being alone in their perception. We are wired to match the room. We are wired to assume that if 50 people believe something, the 50 people are probably onto something. So the moment every single person around you is operating from a completely different reality, your brain doesn't go, I'm right, and they're wrong. Your brain goes, why is everyone acting like this, and why am I not getting it? You don't feel like the sane one. You feel like the confused one. And things are about to get much bigger than you expected. Part 2. The part where you think you're winning. Spoiler, you're not. Okay, so let's say a week has passed. You've accepted the situation. Every human on Earth has been diagnosed with something. Some have severe OCD and are deeply, desperately trying to organize things that cannot be organized, like clouds or their feelings, or other people's opinions. Some have full paranoid delusions and are building extremely elaborate systems to explain a world that has, honestly, always been slightly confusing. Some have grandiose narcissistic episodes and are absolutely convinced they are the chosen ones, which is not entirely new behavior if we're being real. And you are fine. You are the last standing rational human. You wake up, you eat, you think clearly, you reason accurately. People come to you for decisions because you are the only one who can make them without first checking if the furniture has hidden motives. You feel important. You feel necessary. You feel, honestly, a little bit smug about it. And this is where it gets quietly, beautifully humiliating. Because here's the thing. Nobody tells you about being the only sane person in a room full of people who are not. You don't get to rest. You don't get a break. You can't turn to someone and go, can you believe this? Because they are the this you can't believe. Every decision, every conversation, every moment of crisis lands entirely on you. You are the emotional support, the logistical manager, the crisis interpreter, and the only person who actually understands what a deadline means. Ugh. And slowly, without noticing it at all, you start doing something fascinating. You start adapting your communication to fit their reality. You start phrasing things in ways that won't trigger the paranoid ones. You start structuring your plans around the OCD ones' need for order. You start letting the narcissistic ones think everything was their idea because it's faster and easier. You are not lying. You are not manipulating. You are surviving. But somewhere in the process, something shifts. The thing that was helping you is also quietly starting to hollow you out. Part 3. The part where you realize you're actually trapped. Month 2. You have fully adapted. You speak fluent chaos. You know which version of the paranoid guy is having a good day by the way he holds his coffee cup. You've learned that if you use the word system around the OCD woman in accounting, she'll spend the next 40 minutes redesigning the filing process, which actually buys you time to finish your own work undisturbed. You've become fluent in a language you didn't know existed, and honestly didn't want to learn. And here's the kicker. The one that makes your stomach drop a little. You're good at it. Like really good at it. You are managing 17 people who collectively share one functioning perception of reality, and you are keeping the whole thing upright with nothing but patience, improvisation, and a truly unhealthy amount of coffee. From the outside, if anyone could see clearly, they would say you're thriving. But from the inside, you haven't had a real conversation in 60 days. Not one. Every interaction is managed. Every sentence is calculated for its effect on the receiver's specific disorder. You talk to people, but you never actually talk to anyone. You know what everyone needs, but you have stopped knowing what you need. You are so focused on maintaining everyone else's reality that you have quietly, gradually, stopped having your own thoughts about anything that isn't related to keeping the chaos functional. And then one afternoon you catch yourself reorganizing your desk for no reason. Not because you need to, not because anything is out of place. Just because it feels soothing. The order of it, the control of it. You rearrange 3 things, stand back, look at it, and rearrange them again. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a small, uncomfortable alarm goes off. Because you've seen this behavior somewhere before, very recently, in a lot of people around you. You are now trapped inside something you thought you wanted. Part 4. The part where you have to look in the mirror and it's not great. Let's have an honest moment. Because this is the part of the script where I could very easily tell you something comforting. Something like, but you're still the sane one. Or, it doesn't count because you're just adapting. And I'm not going to do that because that would be cowardly and also deeply untrue. Here's the contradiction nobody in this hypothetical scenario wants to face. Sanity is not a static state. It's not a certificate you get once and keep forever in a fireproof box. It is an ongoing, relational, maintained thing. It requires external reference points. It requires feedback. It requires other people whose perception overlaps enough with yours that you can confirm you're still connected to shared reality. When you remove every single person who shares your perceptual baseline, you don't become more sane. You become more alone in your sanity. And prolonged perceptual isolation does something very specific and very well documented to the human brain. It starts generating its own noise to fill the silence. You start talking to yourself more. Not in the casual fun way. In the I'm going to explain this entire situation to myself in real time because otherwise who else will way. You start developing small rituals not because you have OCD, but because rituals create predictability and your brain is screaming for predictability. You start getting genuinely offended when inanimate objects don't cooperate with your plans, which is new, which is interesting, which is not great. And then comes the most uncomfortable realization of all. You start wondering if maybe in some small, structurally significant way the people around you are onto something. Not in the Thursday is a government construct way, but in the broader sense. The paranoid ones are seeing patterns everywhere, yes. But the world does have patterns and most people ignore them completely. The OCD ones are fixating on order and control, yes. But the world is chaotic and the need for some order is not irrational. The grandiose ones believe they're special and chosen, yes. But honestly, so does everyone who ever started anything meaningful. What if the disorder isn't in the perception? What if the disorder is just in the intensity? There is one final truth that nobody saw coming. Part 5. The part where we find out what you were actually afraid of the whole time. Here is the theory. And I want you to stay with me because this is the part that either makes the whole thing click or makes you close the tab. And honestly, either reaction proves the point. The premise of this entire hypothetical, every human has a mental disorder except you, is built on a seductive and completely false assumption. The assumption that normal is a thing that exists and that you have it. But here's what actually happens when psychologists map the full spectrum of human cognitive patterns. There is no clean line between disorder and personality. There is no wall between quirk and diagnosis. What determines whether something gets labeled a disorder is not the behavior itself. It's the degree to which it impairs your functioning. OCD and a strong attention to detail live on the same street. Paranoia and perceptive pattern recognition are related. Grandiosity and genuine self-belief are cousins. Anxiety and care about outcomes are deeply structurally connected. So when you imagine a world where everyone has a disorder except you are imagining a world where everyone has been turned up to 11 on some dimension that you also have, just at a 7, or a 6, or, and this is the part that stings a little, maybe at an 8, but only in certain rooms with certain people under certain kinds of stress. And here's the callback. Remember the beginning? You woke up and noticed everyone acting strange. You spotted the desk reorganizer, the menu alphabetizer, the message guy, and you felt separate from it. Different. Sane. But the whole time you were reading those people, diagnosing those people, cataloging the ways they weren't like you. What were you doing? You were fixating on patterns in their behavior. You were compulsively analyzing the people around you for signs of irregularity. You were running an internal system to sort and organize and label the people in your environment, which is broadly what anxiety looks like, or OCD, or hypervigilance, depending on the day. The world where everyone has a disorder except you never existed. What existed was a world where you finally had a reason to look at the people around you closely enough to see what was always there. And what was always there was a version of you, stretched in different directions, broken at different points, surviving with different systems. The horrifying punchline is that the most sane response to discovering everyone has a disorder is to recognize yourself in all of them. And the most disturbed response is to feel completely separate. So here's what I want you to do. Drop a comment telling me which disorder, if you're being brutally honest, you would have been assigned. Not the funny one, not the one that sounds interesting at dinner parties. The real one, the one that lives in the behavior you've been doing so long you call it just how I am. And if you watched this whole thing looking for yourself in the chaos and couldn't find anyone that matched, that might be the most telling answer of all. Oh, and if you want to keep getting content that your therapist would probably recommend against, you know what to do. Or don't. Your extremely regulated, totally healthy, perfectly normal brain can decide for itself. For real, bro, out. Go be normal. Or whatever that means.